Well, once again, welcome to the Premier Radio Community Focus Show, where we invite guests to explain what's happening in and around our communities. And today, I'm pleased to say, once again, we welcome back Sarah Atherton, Member of Parliament for Wrexham, for a roundup of things that's been happening over the last month, actually, and things that she might be focusing on moving forward in the next month. So hello, Sarah, and thanks very much once again for coming in.
Hello, David, and thank you for having me, Premier Radio.
And I must say, it's a belated but happy New Year. We haven't spoke, I think, before Christmas, and everything whizzes by, doesn't it, these days? So happy New Year to you. Lots of things have been in and around on the press recently with the recent round of the levelling up funds. And obviously, there are split opinions about the levelling up fund. More people want more money, and some people say, why don't we get more money? Where do you see this, and how's it being dealt with as a levelling up fund this time?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. Well, David, I'm hugely, as many of us are, hugely disappointed that we weren't awarded the levelling up fund on round two. And this is sort of extracurricular money, if you like. We haven't lost anything. Wrexham hasn't lost anything. We just weren't awarded it on round two. We got it on round one, or Wrexham Council got it because it's actually their bid, on round one for the Dee Valley project, the Viaduct Canal project. So we've already received one award of 13 million, but obviously the award I was interested in was the Gateway project. And we must remember it's not just about the COP stand, it's that whole area as you go towards the railway bridge. And we weren't awarded it on this round. So I am hugely disappointed, and I'd like to thank the council for all their hard work with this. And I think they share my disappointment. But it's a setback only. And I know that the council are looking with other stakeholders at other options, plan Bs, and there is round three as an option if they want to pursue that. So yes, absolute setback. I think the situation with round two was other councils had latched on quite quickly to this scheme, whereas round one, there weren't that many councils that applied. In round two, there was 500 applications. So that equated to, let me just check my figures, £8 billion worth of funding requests for a pot of money that was increased from 1.8 billion to 2.1 billion. So a lot of people sort of lost out. We did really well in Wales as a whole. We did really well in North Wales. I think we got 4 out of the 11 bids in North Wales, and we won some on round one. So per head in Wales, we have gained £67 per head for everyone in Wales under the Levelling Up Fund bid. That's the best of all the UK regions. Scotland, for example, was £32 a head, and London 17. So Wales has done well, but disappointment for Wrexham on this time. But we'll onwards and upwards. It's a setback. We'll go forward, and I'm convinced the Gateway bid project, or the Gateway project, will be achieved sooner rather than later. We've just got to work together, regardless of politics or personalities, to make sure that this bid goes ahead for Wrexham.
And I think it's critical for the people of Wrexham to understand that although they want more money ploughed into Wrexham for the better of Wrexham, it has to be shared across every other town and city in the whole of UK. It's not just, we want it now. As long as the council as well have got plan B in place and they can maybe bring in other stakeholders, then who knows what happens. And the other one which caught my eye is the UK government's Shared Prosperity Fund. Could you enlighten us a little bit more on that one, please?
Yes, I think I've perhaps mentioned it before, but I'll just recap on what it is. So now we're out of the European Union, Brexit. The money that the UK government would have sent over to Europe, Brussels, they would have then sent it to the Welsh government. We don't have that mechanism in place anymore. So the UK government is sending money directly to Wales. And myself and my North Wales Conservative colleagues fought quite long and hard to make sure that we in North Wales receive that money, because there is a north-south divide. You can speak to anyone in the street and they'll say, we get underfunded in North Wales. So we fought very hard so that money would come from UK government directly to local authorities. And Wrexham was awarded £22.4 million to spend, and they choose how it's spent on individuals, charities, or businesses in Wrexham. And the whole idea of this is to increase opportunity locally, investment, employment, and to have pride in place. So it's that pride in place that we want to try and encourage. I did a survey of constituents to see what they wanted. No surprise whatsoever, regeneration of the town centre. And that stemmed from some people wanted a theatre in Wrexham. We already have one, but people wanted another one. To toilet blocks, a decent toilet facility, which is something close to my heart because, you know, we don't have that facility in Wrexham. We do have one down in the parish. Quite often it's locked, and we have problems with people using the town, particularly at night, as a toilet, and I know that from local traders. So these are the sort of suggestions that people were writing to me about. I've passed that on to the council. Now, what's going to happen now is they're going to open a process for people to apply. Now, there'll be larger funds, that's funds over 250,000, and they will be submitted. I'm not quite sure yet how the council want to manage that, but they will go forward to a stakeholder board. And I'll be one of the type of representatives on that board, along with other elected representatives and stakeholders. And then smaller funds, which I think probably a lot of people are very interested in, up to the value of 250,000, can go to the council directly, and they will see how they best want to use those funds. Now, my plea to the council is this is a lot of money. 72 small pots of money can go a long way, but would we see pride in place? So I'm hoping they're going to have a good balance of bigger projects, hopefully around the town centre, so we can tangibly see a difference. And then the smaller projects, some of the charities that we've got going to help them keep going, sustain these charities. So it's exciting times. If you want more information, please have a look on the website. Now, the council had previously said that the application process was going to be open between the 30th of January and the 17th of February. That was confirmed. I just want to make sure and make sure your listeners know that that date was confirmed a while ago, and I haven't quite checked to see whether those dates have been pushed back at all. But that's the window of opportunity. It's very short. It's only a couple of weeks that people can apply. So please go to my website and look for the details.
It's encouraging because we know ourselves that, you know, going through Wrexham at the moment, there's a couple of empty vacant shops and premises, which would, you know, if they were given the right sort of support and guidance, they could be thriving little businesses. And then that bleeds further out. You know, you go down just outside of the town centre down to Pennerbryn, where they've now got a lot of derelict wasteland where there were buildings that have been torn down. So I think there's a lot of potential to bring Wrexham back into its heyday again, and this is a great way to do it, giving support to people to say what you need to do. One subject which keeps cropping up, I think it's every hour on the hour on various radio stations' news, it's the sort of blanket coverage across Wales of the 20-mile-an-hour zones that are coming in. And also for Wrexham itself, we've got the 483 speed cameras, 50 mile an hour limited there. There's a lot of people who are unhappy about this, quite rightly so. They voiced themselves. Others are embracing it. Where do you stand on this one?
I'm not a fan. I'm one of the ones that don't like it at all. I think it's going to hold Wales back. I think it's definitely going to hold Wrexham back and probably criminalise lots of, you know, very reasonable drivers that might inadvertently, you know, go over 23 miles an hour. And I was trying the other day to set my cruise control, and it just hits in at 20 miles an hour. So I'm not a fan of it. I did a survey of local constituents. 94% of respondents didn't agree with this at all. But it looks as if the Welsh Government are going to bring it in September of this year. It's going to cost us taxpayers £32 million to introduce this. But by research from Welsh Government, their own research analysis on this, it's going to actually hit our economy, the Welsh economy, by £4.5 billion. So I personally do not see the logic in this at all. Welsh Government say it will save £100 million. So I wrote to them and said, I'm confused about this. We're close to the border. People aren't going to know what to do. People from England coming across, they're going to be speeding. Is this really where we want to be? for somewhere like Wrexham, a new city, an expanding, progressive, outward-looking new city. And they sent me the research that they'd based all this on. It was by Napier University. It's a 7-page document. And to be honest, David, I found it quite spurious. I found it didn't really fill me with confidence. So over 200 people had written into me about this, and I sent the copy of the research out to them and said, you're sensible people, make your own minds up. But it's something that the Welsh Government seem to be confident that it will help. Now, I must say, actually, David, that we all agree. No one disagrees with this around play areas, care homes, hospitals. Everyone is in favour. There's not one person I've spoken to is not in favour of reducing speed. And there are lots of 20-mile-an-hour zones already. But this blanket approach that the Welsh Government want to adopt in Wales, I'm not in favour of. But it's not within my jurisdiction, it's within theirs. I've highlighted to the Welsh Government what the feeling of people in Wrexham is, and we are where we are on that one. But transport's something that's starting to bubble up in my casework. So we have the A483 and the speed cameras there that I believe cost 3 million to put in place quite a while back. And the aim was to reduce the speed of traffic along there to 50 miles an hour with a view to reducing emissions. I've written to the government, the Welsh Government, and asked them to sort of say, well, that's fine. That was your research at the time. Now tell us that it's worked. Tell us that this was worth doing. Show me that emissions have fallen as a result of this. Because at the moment, drivers are being penalised, they're being fined. Was it worth it? Was it worth the 3 million for the cameras? Also, I'm a little perplexed that there's been planning development going on by Castle Green developers right on the side of that road. And I'm only hoping that the emissions have dropped, because why the heck have they built houses next to an area that's got polluted air? And I know from previous casework that I've had a lot to do with tree planting along that stretch of the A483, and a lot of residents concerned about idling wagons. And one of the lay-bys is now being toned off to stop wagons sitting there with their engines running overnight, and the poor residents being disturbed by that. And also noise. It almost feels like a little bit like the cart before the horse at the moment. So I'm just trying to find out whether these speed cameras that cost, again, taxpayers £3 million have actually achieved their aim.
And it's, as you say, it's not just in Wales. They're trialling it in other towns and cities around the whole UK. But they are doing it in a more sensible approach, where you say that it's schools and playgrounds, where there's a potential of injury, it's a great idea. But to do it carte blanche across a whole city or a whole town without any identification as to what will happen, other than the fact that everybody knows they're going to get there later, there's going to be more people getting pent up about getting there late. It doesn't really help people. And as you say, inadvertently, we're all used to travelling at 30 mile an hour in appropriate areas. And sometimes we may creep over to 32, 33 inadvertently. So if you're trying to do 20, which we're not used to, 22, 23, 25 mile an hour, we can't normally judge that speed because we've never driven at that speed. And the cars these days that we all drive, they're not supercars, but they're certainly cars with a lot more power and a lot more torque than they were sort of 50 years ago, with a Morris Minor maybe could poodle along at 20 quite nicely. It's a lot to take in, I think. And
I think you're right on that, because some of the research dated back 10 years. Well, modern cars have advanced so much in 10 years, and I'm not sure that was taken into account. But we are where we are with that. I think they missed really they missed looking at what it would do for certain areas. Will it increase pollution where cars are going slow at 20? Will it increase the amount of road rage there is? Will it increase congestion? And what are the effects of that on local people in built-up streets? So there's a lot going on there, but by and large, Wrexham aren't in favour of that. But we're going to have to get used to it.
And you recently visited Glyndŵr University for the Help Yourself, I believe.
Help your shelf.
Help your shelf. It's my pronunciation. Shelf.
Yeah,
yes.
No, shelf it was. I keep on saying help yourself, but help your shelf. And it's a great scheme that the Students' Union have put in place there. And it's a food bank. It's a food bank, it's toiletries, and it's stationery. And believe it or not, students still use Post-its and notebooks. I thought they'd all gone electronic now, David. I know you and I are old school, but apparently they still use books and Post-its. So I'm really pleased to hear that. They noticed that obviously cost of living is increasing, utility bills is increasing, students aren't exempt to the hardships that we're all experiencing at the moment, some more than others. And they realised that they needed to help out. So they have set up this food bank. There's no stigma attached. It's an area within the Students' Union where students can go along, take what they need off the shelves, and if they want to speak to someone about if debt or things they're struggling with or paying the bills, they can do. They're doing a great job down there. I spoke to them about how many students are applying for hardship grants, and I was quite surprised at how few were. So they are going to look at how students access that and whether there's any barriers to that. So they're doing some really good work. Now they're after a fridge, if anyone's got a fridge. I thought I had one in the garage. When I had a look, it was a washing machine. So they're still after. I've offered the washing machine to them to put their perishables in, because they're now going to start offering perishables as well. So if anyone's got a fridge out there, please get in touch with the Student Union. But they take donations, so if anyone wants to start taking donations down there, they can drop it off at the Students' Union. They're more than grateful and happy to accept any support. But they're doing some really good work there trying to support students.
That's excellent. And then, it doesn't matter who you are now in this day and age. Everybody needs some form of support. Even if it's helping myself come back from the pub one night, I need support sometimes. We all need the support, and often than not. And I think it used to be a male problem. Men never used to reach out for support or help or anything. But I think it goes two ways now. I think certainly young students, they may feel a little bit more. They should be more resourceful and more resilient, and may not want to ask for grants. But hey, if it's there, apply for it. There's no stigma attached to it. It's there to support people, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're not easy times. I'm just making sure I've given everyone, if they want to donate, the right place to do that. Plascoch campus, the main university reception, the Students' Union, and the library building. So we're really supporting our young people here. And I think you're right, David, particularly younger men. We sometimes forget single young men in all this. And it's good that they reach out there. There's no stigma, but there's that safety net. If they want to talk, they can.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I've never done it before, but you have to reach out. Now, moving slightly further afield from the Wrexham area, although it's still connected to it. Whilst you're down in Westminster recently, you've been sort of co-sponsoring the Wales and the Battle of Britain exhibition down in Parliament. And how does that pan out? What's it for?
Okay, the RAF at MOD realised that people in Wales didn't actually realise how much they contributed to the Battle of Britain. And it was a project that was set up, and it started off at the Senedd, came to T-Pow, and I went to have a look at it when it was up in Wrexham, and ended 200 days later with an exhibition in Parliament. And it was all about the characters, the personalities, and the people that helped the Battle of Britain and World War II. And in particular, what happened here in North Wales. It was super interesting. It was super interesting to actually show my non-Welsh colleagues and some of my Welsh colleagues really, how we stepped up. And did you know, Wrexham clubbed together, because Wrexham, when things get tough, Wrexham dig deep. And they clubbed together, and they paid for a Spitfire, and it was known as the Wrexham Spitfire. So, yeah, quick question there for everyone. And there was pictures of the Wrexham Spitfire, and it was just wonderful to show off what Wales and Wrexham has done in the past.
That's excellent. And staying down in Parliament for a minute, the Market Traders Bill went through into Parliament, and obviously you showed your support for the Wrexham market traders by supporting that bill. How did it go?
It was very good. It was Simon Baines, who's the MP for Fluid South, and I co-sponsored that and supported him with that and gave him my 2 pennies worth of the history of the markets of Wrexham, and it went really, really well. He lodged that because we must remember that Wrexham is an old market town and will always be a market town, and we have the development of the butcher's market that's about to happen very soon, which is very exciting. I've got a feeling, don't hold me to it, but I've got a feeling it might be closed for quite a while, and the stalls there are going to be relocated during that time. But then it's going to be reopened, and it's going to be one of these super sort of market eatery, Welsh foods, Welsh drink, buy your Welsh burgers whilst having a Welsh ale, and sat down and have some Welsh cheese. It's going to be one of those sort of places. Those of you who go down to London, it's going to be hopefully like a bit of a borough market, but these are popping up everywhere, and I do believe, I've never been, but I do believe that they've got a similar one in Chester. I was listening to the MP for Chester do her maiden speech, and she said since it had opened, there's been 250,000 people visited Chester Market. So if we can get something like that in the butcher's market, which is the aim, that's going to be great, because I think we have to remember town centres have changed. We may want to hark back to the Wrexham that was, but it's not going to happen, and we need to look at how to regenerate our town centre. And there's a lot that's been going on, and a lot just about to happen. For example, Chapter Court, I had a look around Chapter Court the other day, and I went to meet Carl Turner, who's the community director of Town Square Spaces. Really exciting there. They've got it in 2 stages. The first is the frontage of the shops that you can see when you walk around Wrexham at the moment. He has 40 retailers all keen to take these spaces. Some are communal spaces and shared, some are individual, and hopefully we'll see the first retailer moving in there in the next few months. And the second stage is the venue event stage, which is at the back, and it's quite a large courtyard there. I hadn't been in the back before. It's quite a large courtyard, and that's hopefully going to be up and running as an events venue by the end of the year. So we've got that happening. We've got a next outlet coming into Island Green, which is great, but just be careful, everyone, of the parking there. They're pretty ruthless. They don't give you any quarter there, even if you just drive in. So please be careful of parking, but it's really good that one of those units is going to be filled. And then we've got Debenhams, the downstairs of Debenhams. Might be something going on in the upstairs, but certainly the downstairs of Debenhams is going to become like a multicultural food and entertainment hall. So we can see actually there, by who wants to come to Wrexham now, which way the town centre is going to go. It's going to become more of food, drink, entertainment, and more bespoke, smaller shops with a few larger ones as well. And of course, Eagles Meadow has got some good plans going forward there about how to engage with the community, how to put on entertainment. And I'm still badgering them, fingers crossed, to sort of have some free parking time there. So we're doing well. It's Wrexham's starting to move, and it's really good to see.
And we touched upon this before in a couple of interviews, Sarah, that each town and city in the UK is going through the same changes that Wrexham is going through, in that it's losing the big department stores. They're all going on to the retail centres. They're all going to places like Broughton Park. It's inevitable that some town centres are basically folding up, and they're putting in accommodation for homeless people, whereas Wrexham have taken that big leap forward and are trying their damnedest now to put something in place that attracts people, not necessarily just for shopping, but to come in and look at the independent shops, have something to eat, maybe have a drink, do something different, use the town centre in a slightly different way than they would normally have done 20, 30 years ago. It's good to see that action's being taken and not letting it say, just let it rot. It's defunct. We don't need it.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't defunct, because it's proving it now, because these, as you say, well, not new, but established companies are now coming in and looking at it and saying, well, there is a potential there. We can do this.
Do you know, I always walk through Wrexham and look up, and we've got some beautiful, beautiful buildings. And the council are really focused on this. And I'm really pleased that we share this this ambition. Well, we all share this ambition to improve our town centre. Some of them are going to be flats. If you look up, there's some developments now around flats and the upper stories of these buildings. And I'm really keen, and this is the way we're going, is to engage with our Welshness. Make us different. Make us different. We're not Chester. We're not Chester. We're Welsh, and we've got that to offer people. We've got that for tourists, because I hear that Americans are coming in because of the football club. So, if we're going to start seeing coaches full of Americans getting off, we need to take their money off them, and we need to get our traders, and their cash tills working. So, we start to come together, and we need to just make sure that it's coordinated and we're grasping every opportunity to promote our city.
Another thing which is may not be obvious to everybody listening, but there's quite a big community within Wrexham and the Wrexham outlying areas that actually work a crossover in Airbus. And they obviously have gone through a couple of, I'd say, wobbly stages where they didn't know what the long-term future was going to hold for them. And recently, there's been an Airbus parliamentary reception, which you were attending. Did they mention anything about how the bid is going for the contracts for the helicopters that the MOD are looking to replace?
Yes. There's a few exciting things going on. I think last Saturday they had their open day, which we all know. We've all taken nieces and nephews, sons and daughters down to their open day. So they're a big recruiter in the area. We also offer a fantastic apprenticeship scheme. So that's going on. Airbus, they fly on Welsh wings. That's their strap line. So every time you see an Airbus anywhere in the world, they are Welsh wings. And the A350 wings are made at Broughton. But with my defence hat on, I've been really lobbying and encouraging the MOD to look at a new contract, which they are bidding for at Airbus. And it's their new medium lift helicopter to replace a Puma, the H175M. They're in competition at the moment. There are 4 bidders. The main competitor is Leonardo. I suspect hopefully we'll be down to 2 bidders, Airbus and Leonardo, towards the end of this year, and then the MOD are to choose which one. If successful, every part of that helicopter, apart from the supply chain, bringing parts in, will be built at Broughton. And that's going to secure contracts, employment, growth and investment for the long term, and hopefully upskill some of our young people around further apprenticeships on the rotary wing side of things. So it's really exciting. I do my best in Parliament to make sure that that's high on the agenda, where I speak to ministers in the MOD, and having Airbus there to help with that is really good. So I was really pleased to go and see them and meet some of the apprentices that are there, the young shining stars of the future, and again to get the opportunity to promote the site at Broughton.
It's a fantastic opportunity for any young person listening now, is to just take that leap of faith, go for something like this, because it will lead to bigger and better things in the future for them. And if it's on their doorstep to start with, they haven't got to worry about leaving home, setting up a bed sit somewhere and working in a foreign sort of place like Nottingham, Leeds, Birmingham, where they're going to go to. It's on their doorstep. They can come home every night, have a cooked meal by mum and dad. So yeah, it's a great little thing.
It's the bank of mum and dad, David.
It is indeed. Is there anything else that's coming up in and around Wrexham that you're going to be involved in the next couple of weeks?
I'm going to the trading estate. I've been to Hightown Barracks this morning, but I think we'll save that. That's really exciting news. We'll save that for our next chat. And tomorrow I'm doing some work around the trading estate, because we're soon to have one of the largest trading estates in Europe, and there's some rather large expansion plans there. And I'm going to try and get an update on what's going on down there and what businesses are looking to invest in Wrexham. And again, businesses, employment. But with that, we need housing as well. And that's always a sensitive subject, because, whilst we all want housing, we all want affordable housing, we all want our kids to get on the housing ladder, most of us don't want estates in our backyard, thank you very much. And it's that really tricky balance. So as Wrexham grows, we are going to need houses. We have got a problem, a bit of a moratorium on building houses at the moment, because I'm going to say it again, and I say it every time. It's the phosphate issue with the Welsh Government. So nothing's being built at the moment. And that development I mentioned on the A483 Castle Green, that stopped and had stopped for a long while. That's the phosphate issue. So it's a tricky balance as we grow. We need to take Wrexham with us, but there are some great opportunities. There are lots of large businesses coming to me saying, what's Wrexham got to offer? And as I say, I'm a one-woman tourist board. David will come and go, but Wrexham stays here for our children and grandchildren, and it's our duty, it's our legacy to leave it better than when we found it.
You also host a network meeting for businesses on a fairly regular basis where possible. Do you encourage and invite potential businesses and employers along to those meetings that are not necessarily in Wrexham at the moment, but could benefit and listen to some of the current employers in the area to help you to promote the good parts of what, employing people in Wrexham, being based in Wrexham? Do you invite them along to those?
I do. I haven't had many. I've got one coming up soon, which I'll talk to you about when I've got some more detail. And we do, and I don't exclude anyone that doesn't, sit within the Wrexham postcode. We have people who trade with businesses in Wrexham. Anyone's welcome as long as it's inward looking for Wrexham. Absolutely. We're going to have one soon and looking at crime prevention. We're going to look at what we can do to help crime prevention. We'll get the police along, we'll get various agencies along, and it's very much a networking, very much, support each other in Wrexham. But anyone's welcome that has an interest in Wrexham. So next time we speak, we'll mention the details of that.
So thank you so much for taking the time out again today from a busy, hectic schedule you keep going through. Not just in Wrexham, but down in Westminster as well, and travelling up and down and everything else. And it's been great having another chat here on Premier Radio, and we certainly look forward to hearing more from you in the next roundup next month. But in the interim period, I think we will obviously invite you on, and we'll find out more about all the other bits that are going on as well. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your time, and it's been great seeing you again.
Oh, thank you, and speak to you all soon.